Yes, we are. A little business today on the show we call The Business Life. I'm your coach. And, sometimes I just like to do the show by myself. We're going to have one nice guest on, a lady who, how do I want to say this? She knows what the heck she's doing when it comes to taxes. She files tax returns. I'm so curious about a couple things that the politicians have brought in. And then I talked to Lisa the other day, and she said, Coach, are you aware of all the credits that people don't take advantage of? And I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. Let me bring you on the air for a few minutes. So she'll be on at 1:20. So today, you're just going to listen to the coach if you want to. I'll try to keep you company as you're eating lunch at work or driving around. I'm dedicating the show today to Jerry Cerati and her wonderful husband, Carl Goldman. So it's Jerry Cerati Goldman and Carl Goldman. And why am I dedicating the show to the owners of KHTS? Because they do more than probably any two people in the history of this community. And they just got back from a trip from Sacramento, so that's a cheap plug for one of the things I want to talk about, and that's patriotism. And we'll do that in the second segment of the show. Look, people, I think, don't understand patriotism. And I want to say this, that people on the left, I'm on the right, I'm a conservative. I'm not sure who I'm going to vote for, to be honest with you. But, Democrats, they're patriots too. And I'm so sick and tired of, the Republicans. And I'm not a Republican. I'm registered and independent, but I'm a conservative. So sick and tired of these Republicans beating up on the left and insinuating that people on the left are not patriots. It's just not true. And our politics are sick. And some of the people that are running for office are sick. And I'm just kind of fed up with it. But I'm going to talk about patriotism on the second half of the show we call The Business of Life. Right here on KHTS 1220 AM. You can listen on the best radio app in America. I'm not kidding you one bit. Go to the App Store and put in KHTS 1220 AM. Will pop up. And now you can take KHTS anywhere you want, day or night, and listen to your favorite shows. Hopefully, one of these days, I'll be your favorite show, too. So, patriotism, second half of the show. And then I want to talk a little bit about education. One of my grandboys goes to an alternative high school right here in Santa Clarita, OFL. And I just have to tell you, I'm beyond impressed with the owners of OFL, beyond impressed with the curriculum of OFL. And maybe the education needs to be done differently. Maybe the way that OFL is doing it, and I'll talk about that a little bit later too, because they're hands-on with the kids. You got a teacher with 3 or 4 students, and they take these kids into real life and real working environments, and I'll talk a little bit about that too. Also on the second half, I'm going to talk about what I see is the biggest problem in our society today, besides heroin, obituates, what else? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. The world's a little crazy right now. The world is a little crazy. But, your world doesn't have to be crazy. The world that you live in, if you're listening to my voice and you're not lying in a hospital bed and you're not dying of cancer or some horrible disease, your world's pretty good, especially if you're healthy. So there's no reason in the world why you wouldn't be very, very successful at what you do. But most people are not successful at what they do because they don't know how to think for themselves. They don't know how to make the right choices. They don't make the right decisions. And when you don't make the right choices and the right decisions in your life, here's what happens. You lose confidence. You create for yourself really poor self-esteem issues. And when you have self-esteem issues and low confidence, it's difficult to have winning results. And when you don't get enough winning results in your life, guess what? You stop taking risks. And that's what I think separates out people who do well, no matter what they're doing. And it's not about money. This is not about money. This is about having that's a good picture of me. If you go to, where do they go, Justin? Facebook? Go to Facebook and type in what? KHTS? You'll see a picture of the coach. Boy, I'm handsome. I'm getting handsomer as I get older. That part I don't understand. It's weird. So if you lack self-confidence and it affects your self-esteem, and now you won't take risks because you're afraid you're going to fail, right? You're afraid you're going to make a mistake. You're afraid your boss is not going to like you. You're afraid you're going to get fired. I mean, you just become a little scared bunny rabbit. And when you stop taking risk, it's almost impossible to succeed. It really is. Hey, if you want to talk to me, 298-5487. If you got something to say, don't be a nutball and call up. And somebody called up a couple of weeks ago and they said, well, they want to do away with the federal government. It's ridiculous. We have to have government. But we have to have responsible government. 298-5487 in the 661. If you're calling around from you can hear our show all over the country. So the area code 661. If you're outside of Southern California, the area code 661-298-5487. I have people listening all over the country: Chicago, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Oregon, of course, and. So I dedicate the show today to Jerry Cerati and Jerry Cerati Goldman and her husband Carl, because they not only give so much back to this community, but they care about government. They care about who represents us, and they just took a 2-day bus trip, which I'm going to try to get them on the air to talk about it, but a 2-day bus trip to Sacramento to talk to the legislators up there and find out what they're going to do for our wonderful Southern California city of the Santa Clarita Valley. So 298-5487, the phones are ringing off the hook. But I'm not going to take nutballs. I want to take people that are responsible, Justin. So you do the screening today. If you don't like them, don't put them on the air. It's that simple. It's that simple. Do not put them on the air. Coming up here in a couple of minutes, I'm going to have Lisa talking about income tax, because it's that time of year and I don't know a darn thing about it. Lisa's tax service, it's nice, simple. Neil is in Chicago. You want to put Neil on? Sure. He's in Chicago. We got listeners all over the country. Hello, Chicago. Neil, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, my good friend. How you doing?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
I love the topic that you're going to have later. I can't wait to heir it. But,
which one? Which topic?
When you're having the tax lady on.
Oh yeah, Lisa's tax service. She, look, I know the lady, and I don't want to make a commercial for her, but if you need somebody to do your income taxes, it's Lisa's tax service. I'll give her number out in a minute. You're in Chicago, so find your own people back there.
Hey, give me the pick for the Final Four, please, and I'll let you go.
Oh, okay, you got it.
I love you, and I love listening to your show.
In Chicago, I love it. On Hometown Station, that's where Neil listens to, on hometownstation.com in Chicago. So here's my final two. Oregon beats Michigan State by the buzzer. Final score, 79-78, Oregon. Take that to the bank, Neil. Have a nice day. Thanks for calling in. All right, so Lisa's coming up here in a second, Lisa's tax service. But back to what I want to talk about after the tax service lady, and that is thinking. I said that the Goldmans went to Sacramento, and I think one of the problems that we have with our legislators in California and our 535 stupid politicians in Washington is they do not know how to communicate with us. They don't know how to share what is going on with us in a real way that we can understand. And they're not good thinkers. And thinking is the hardest thing we have to do in life. Do you realize that? And how much time do each one of you take time to really think in your day? Do you ever call a timeout? Do you ever sit down and go, you know what, I'm just going to take 20 minutes and do some thinking and do thinking. Do some thinking about your life. Do some thinking about what are you contributing to this world. Are you just taking, or are you giving back? Now I know Neil out of Chicago is a giver, so he gives back to all his friends. He's a great friend. So just being a good friend, trust me, is a great thing to give back to society, seriously. To check in with people and let them know that you care about them, that is a great way to run your life. If you do nothing more but tell people you love them and you care about them, I'm telling you what, you're making people's days every day when you do that. So you talk about having a purpose in life. That's a great purpose to have in life. So I got a lot to do. Maybe I can do a 3-hour show today, Justin. I don't know if I can get patriotism in, education in, thinking in. Let me just say this before we get Lisa's tax service on the phone here in Southern California. This technology this technology thing that we have, this Twitter thing, this Facebook thing that we have, all the other technology stuff that we have, I believe that it's stunting our growth. I believe it's stunting our ability to think. And I'm concerned about the young people, because how are the young people learning how to think properly? Where are they learning how to think? If their thinking is represented by 140 characters in technology, and nobody reads Facebook past a 10-second glance, and people live on their technology and all they want to do is be entertained, I don't like our chances going forward. I really don't. I really, really don't. And, you know, in California, where the divorce rate is well over 50%, and the parents are so preoccupied with their divorce, who's raising the kids? So I'll tell you who's raising the kids. Technology is raising the kids. And this is not a good thing. This is a horrible thing. This is a bad thing. And then getting back to, I'll talk about patriotism after our conversation with Lisa, but when you look at patriotism today, and let me just say this before Lisa comes on. People who have given their lives for this country, that's why I'm a patriot. All the men and women going back to World War I, going back to World War II, going back to the Korean War, going back to the Vietnam War. How about Afghanistan and Iraq? All these young people, why did they give their lives? Why? Why did they enlist voluntarily into the military in the last 20 some odd years? Why have they done this? Well, a lot of them done it because they truly love this country. A lot of these young men and women love this country to the point where they're willing to give all. Most in the military give some, but some gave all. And this has to be respected and understood. And why am I bringing patriotism up today? Because I've had conversations in the last week or two with many people on Facebook and in person where they say it's all a bunch of BS. It's not all a bunch of BS. If everybody felt that way, what kind of country would we have? So I'm going to get back to patriotism. All right, let's bring Lisa's. We're not ready yet to bring her on yet. 2 minutes and I'll bring her on. So I have these conversations with people in the last 2 weeks. Many of them, more than I would like to even share with you, said, I don't even pay attention anymore. I'm so turned off. It's all a bunch of BS. And here's what half of them said. What difference does it make? They sounded like Hillary Clinton in the congressional hearings. What difference does it make? That's what adults are saying to me. And that's why I'm a little heated up today. That's why I want to talk about patriotism today, because what difference does it make? You don't care about your kids. You don't care about your grandkids. You don't care about the future of this country. What about the couple million people that gave everything so that you could live the life that you live? You don't get it, really? All right, I'll take a deep breath here and we'll get back to patriotism. So in the second half of the show, patriotism, education, thinking. Let me bring on into Southern California here a wonderful, smart, intelligent, well-trained, educated, licensed, and above all, one of the nicest people you will ever meet in your life. It's Lisa's Tax Service, owned by Lisa. Let me pronounce your last name. Goli, is it? How do you pronounce it? Bracoli. There
you go.
It's Italian. Look at that cute little voice too. It's Italian, right?
Yes, it is.
Bracoli. Is that? Am I getting it right? Why don't I?
Bracoli.
Anyway, they'll remember Lisa's Tax Service. Is it okay to give out your number? Nobody ever writes it down, but they might remember Lisa's Tax Service. Can they look you up?
Go.
Can they look you up in the yellow pages? I still go to the yellow pages on my phone for everything, you know.
Oh, do you? Yeah, the smartphone's a wonderful thing.
All right, so here's their number just once, and I know you're not going to write it down. In the 661 area code, it's 904. If you need a tax service, it's 904-2351. And don't be late filing your taxes, because if you're late, what happens, Lisa?
Penalties and interest.
And what's the interest?
It's hard.
The interest is what, like 19% or something?
It's high. It's high. You know, between penalties and interest, you really you get hit hard. You know, you don't want to be late. I mean, if it looks like you can't do your tax return, you file an extension. You know, when you make an estimated payments, that kind of holds off the interest and the penalties for you.
But you have to make an estimated. People don't realize that. They think that if they can hold off filing their tax return, they're not responsible for anything. That's not true, is it? It's not true.
No, it's not. And you know, there's a lot of misconceptions about the IRS and the Franchise Tax Board, which is the state of California income tax.
Well, can I just say something and make a disclaimer? I love the IRS. I want to tell you that. And you know, when Ted Cruz, who's running for the president of the United States, says he's going to abolish the IRS, he's stupid. Why? There's no way he's going to abolish the IRS. I don't understand why the press hasn't challenged him once on that. Not once. Tell us how you're going to abolish the IRS, Mr. Stupid U.S. Senator.
Right. That's not going to happen.
I mean,
that's not going to happen. I mean, they've even talked at one point of putting a flat rate on the income tax.
I'm all in on the flat tax, girl. I'm telling you what, if everybody paid 18%, I'd be out there in the middle of the streets marching for this. I mean, if every corporation, every individual would pay 18%, this country would get our deficit down. We'd be back in we'd be in good shape again, fixing our infrastructure. But let's talk about. Go ahead.
There's a lot of inequalities when it comes to income tax. You know, the wealthier get a lot of the tax credits that they're entitled to are eliminated at a certain point, and there's a lot of credits that, as you had mentioned before, that are eligible for the lower income individuals that they're not aware of.
All right, I'm naive. What is a tax credit? So what is it?
Okay, so you have, for instance, an earned income credit on the lower income individuals. It's called an earned income credit, and you actually you're eligible for money back from the IRS. Based on your income and based on your dependent status, depending on how many dependents you have and such. There's limitations. As I speak of the various credits, there's limitations on as far as income and dependency status, marital status, and things like that. But
what's a common credit? What, like, if you have kids, you can write your kids off?
You have a child care credit. You have a child credit. You have, if you have kids in college, you have, again, this depends on income, the income level. There's education credit.
There's not
all these things people aren't aware of.
I'm unaware of all of them. I mean, my kids are grown, so I don't have those credits. I don't know what credits I don't even know what credits I have, but the most common credit that people have is the write-off from their house, correct?
Yes, mortgage interest, mortgage taxes. That's on your itemized Schedule A. A house is a big deduction, but you also have donations, which you know, I encourage people, you know, a lot of people go out and they have garage sales because they think they're making so much money on their garage sales, but, you know, you give it to Goodwill and you got a nice write-off. You know, so that's a way of saving on your taxes as well.
What about, can I go back to the write-off just for a second? So in California, write-off is a federal, but it's also a state, right?
Well, it carries over to the state. A lot of this carries over to the state.
And here's what people don't understand. If they want, and you don't have to answer this, I'm just making this part of our conversation. For the people that want a larger government, you have to pay for that, and we have the highest state income tax in the country. So if we want to live in a country where you're paying 60, 70%, of your income to the government, some form of government. People. Here's another thing. Can I ask you this question? Do people understand all the other little tax ramifications, like the gasoline tax? We can't write that off, can we?
No, people don't understand a lot of. Most people don't understand what they're entitled to, and I talk to people just in general conversation, and I let them know. You know what? I can amend 3 years tax returns. We can go back 3 years and amend returns. If I'm talking to somebody and they've been entitled to an education credit, they've been going to college and paying tuition and books and so on, I can look at their return and see if it would be worth it to do an amendment. It would not take any time at all, but it's only to their advantage that I file an amended return.
And can I hold you over? We got to take a break, a hard break here. We're talking to Lisa. Pronounce your last name again. Bracoli.
Bracoli.
Or Bragoli.
There's a G.
Yeah.
There's a G. Okay,
G, Coach.
finally,
Yeah.
Bragoli. Okay, I got some hearing loss, Justin. I got some hearing. I don't have 22-year-old
Can we try
ears.
it again? Can we try it one time?
Bragoli.
There we go.
Bragoli.
There we go.
He's 22 years old. He's got his eyesight. He's got his hearing. He doesn't have a bit of fat on his body, and he's better looking than what's his name? That actor George Clooney. We're going to come right back. We're talking to Lisa at Lisa's Tax Service. Where can people find you in Southern California?
In Canyon Country.
Canyon Country. I have no idea where that is. Lisa's Tax Service will be right back on the show we call The Business of Life. I'm your coach, Coach Ron Tunick. We'll be right back.